Hey guys, so this is Lilacspectrum, and I'm here reviewing this new book I just finished last night. And I'll just give you a little hint on this book. I started this book like a month ago, maybe not that long ago, and I didn't really get into it at first, and then I really got into it, and then I couldn't put it down. So this is one of those books. So of course, as I always try to do, and I've kind of slacked up on the last few videos, but this time I'm going to do good because I actually have it in front of me. I'm going to talk about all the stuff I usually try. Okay, so the cost of this book is $17.99. Since I got this from the library, I didn't have to pay for it. It's hardback, so it's $17.99 in the US and $21.99 in Canada. I'm not going to take the time to look on Amazon for a better deal. You can literally just look it up on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com, write that name in with this author, and you can find it that way. So anytime you want to do that, go ahead. Usually if the book doesn't have it printed on there, I'll tell you that way so that you know where you can get it from or whatever. The cover is just this guy without a head, really, and it's Simon versus the Homo Sapiens agenda, and it's by Becky Albertalli, and I don't know if I'm saying her name right or not, but I'm sorry if I'm not. I love your book. So it's one of these books that's been kind of controversial the past couple of weeks. It's been kind of more in the my newsfeed a lot more, especially because I follow these two book places for teens and young adults, which is YA, and they keep bringing it up. So I decided to read it. Now we're going to talk about the author real quick. Becky Albertalli, excuse me, sorry, is a clinical psychologist who has the privilege of conducting therapy with dozens of smart, weird, and irresistible teenagers. Also served 7 years as co-leader of a support group for gender non-conforming children in Washington, D.C. She now lives with her family in Atlanta. Simon versus the Homo Sapiens agenda is her first novel, and you can visit her on her website, blah blah blah. Here she is right there, and she looks kind of young. I don't know how old she is, but she's really kind of cute. And this was a really good book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read it and get back to me. So the likes about this book, just about every part of this book I liked because it was so good. There's not much I didn't like about this book. I will go ahead and start about the dislikes right now because there's literally just like one. So this woman is talking about, which is set in a boy, his name is Simon. Okay, so basically let me just sum up the story for you. Simon is homosexual. He's gay. And nobody knows. Only he knows. And this guy he's talking to through email. So basically this guy is, which is a very interesting story because of the fact that you don't see many gay romances or gay stories yet, and it's kind of surprising because gay is becoming more known, and so this is one of the best books I've read featuring a gay cast or a gay leading person. And I've read a couple of them, and I've liked them and didn't like them, and so I think with gay novels you either like it or don't. So so if you have problems with anything gay related, you might as well just click off this video because that's what the story's about. He is gay and he's talking to this guy he met on Tumblr, and the guy was kind of deep and kind of seemed like he needed somebody to talk to, so he said, here's my email if you ever want to talk. So then they start talking, and the guy's name's Blue, Green, his email is that, and so basically they go to the same school together because the Tumblr is the Tumblr page they post on was for their school, and they know they go to the same school together, but they just don't know who they are, and they use fake names and whatever, which is a very interesting concept. And so yeah, the chapters are set up. One chapter is like his everyday life and what's happening, and then the second chapter will be emails from him to the guy, and then the next chapter will be his everyday life, and then emails are the next chapter. Except when you get close to the end, and then there are no emails back and forth like that, which you'll figure out why in a later day. So yeah, I did really like that break in pace because I felt like there was actually something happening. When me and my friends were in high school, we did email back and forth. not so much text, because when you're in school, or where I went to school, when you're in school, you can't really pull out your phone and reply, but you're always usually at school near a computer. So it's, you can check your email, and they don't care if you check your email, especially if it's your school email, and they don't even care if you email each other back and forth on the school email, but you know, just know that they are monitoring those emails back and forth. So I kind of understood that, and I kind of felt like he could be somebody I know, because, you know, we did that. So what I will say about this book is so good. It's just, I felt like the characters were believable. When it comes to a gay character, the worst thing you can do is make them unbelievable and cliched. You know, so you always got that character that's got that swishing hips and blah blah, and you just know he's gay from a mile away, kind of thing. When the girls are always really butch and, you know, play softball and da da da, wear their hair short. And, you know, it's not like that in this book. It's like these people are like just a regular old guy, and he's just gay, and it's fine. And, you know, this book felt like it was okay, and it felt like that you know, I don't know, it just did not feel as cliched as some of the other homosexual books I've read in the past. And I don't care about what subject it's on, so I don't have a problem with homosexual books. I don't have a problem with homosexual people. I don't, you know, so that's why I'm okay with reading this book. And if you have problems with that kind of stuff, beware, because that's what this book's about. There are a few curse words back and forth, not as many as there could be, but it happens, so be aware of that if you're somebody who reads books that don't like that. But it's almost impossible to find a book nowadays or a TV show without some kind of cursing on it. It's just become the norm nowadays, which I hate, because I think every now and again a curse word's fine, but if you're using a curse word every other word, it's just like, really, can we not? There's another way you can deal with this. So dislikes. The only dislike I have about this book is when the author is talking about Tumblr. And the author doesn't specifically talk about Tumblr, but the kids talk about Tumblr. And instead of just calling it Tumblr, they call it the Tumblr. Now, I have a Tumblr page. I don't get on it as much because there's all kinds of other social medias like Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. There's just so much you can do that I miss Tumblr. The only time I get on Tumblr is when Markiplier posts on Tumblr, and that's very rare. He posts just about once every week or so, and I don't always check it. I might get a wild hair and say, oh, he posted, let's see what he posted. And it's usually just like fan-made stuff he reblogs on there, so I figure I can find fan-made stuff anywhere I go, so it doesn't really matter. But anytime I get on Tumblr is usually for him, or if I am trying to promote a page or a story or anything or a video, then I'll get on Tumblr and check it out. But I do not call it the Tumblr, and it makes me feel like this lady is older than I originally thought she was, because, you know, not saying she's old or out of style or whatever, but nobody calls it the Tumblr. That's like calling it the Facebook or the MySpace or the and it kind of reminds me of that commercial. I think it was a commercial where it was like the dad confused Facebook and MySpace, and he called MyFace or Face Space or something like that. And it was just so funny because it was just like, wow, you can definitely tell he's out of it. You know, he's not in this generation and he hasn't caught up with it yet. Or like when you hear your mom say swag or whatever, one of those things. Whenever you see your mom twerking or whatever, and you're just like, you know. So that's every time I cringed whenever we talked about Tumblr, because instead of just calling it Tumblr or Tumblr post, the Tumblr. Now I can understand why you said Tumblr post. You know, that's understandable, but just calling it the Tumblr, like Tumblr is tumblr.com, not the tumblr.com. So, I mean, I'm not bagging on her and I'm not trying to make fun of her, but I just, every time she spoke about Tumblr, it was always the Tumblr, and it made me giggle a little bit. Like, of course I got over it and went on about my day, and I didn't have a problem with it, but I was like, every time it happened, I was like, you know, just like giggling about it, because it's not the Tumblr, you know. So, and even the kids, the teenagers called it the Tumblr, like, over dialogue, and it's like, you know, like, so stop. But it's not called the Tumblr, it's called Tumblr, so that just made me laugh. There wasn't really anything bad about this book. I really love this book, and I really kind of would like to see it made into a movie. And somebody said something about making it into a movie, but making it a musical. And I don't really think it needs to be a musical, because there's only one play in it, and it's not, I mean, I guess you could, because he likes music and talks about music, but I would rather see it just like a plain old movie with a play featured in it and stuff like that. I don't want to see a musical, because I mean, I like musicals, no backing on musicals, but I just like to see a book that is directed the way the book is written, where it's just the story, and then if there comes a musical opportunity, do it, you know, because there's a play and there's a musical and whatever. And so basically the whole book is him talking to this guy and trying to figure out who this guy is, and they end up coming out to their parents and blah 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 blah, and it's just basically the everyday struggles of a regular gay teen nowadays in anywhere. So just the basic struggles and how he feels about stuff. And actually this guy, I fell in love with Simon. Man, I mean, not like that. You know how you find a character and you love them and you just wish, like, can I just hug you? Like, really? And I just felt like Simon was that innocent guy I just needed to protect. And I think a lot of his girlfriends, his friends that are girls, felt that way too, because they end up protecting him a lot through the middle to the end of the novel, because he ends up getting outed without his permission and all this and that and the other. The only thing I hated about this book, another thing, was that the guy who was against him, he was basically blackmailing him, and I hate that. I mean, I know she did that because you had to have conflict and this and that and the other, and honestly, in my high school, I know how that is, because I was bullied at one time, and I think everybody's been bullied sometime in their life, whether they're bullied at a young age or they get to their adult age and they're bullied by somebody else. He could have just gone. In my opinion, it would have at least benefited him to go to the principal and say, hey, this guy is blackmailing, okay? And I don't know if I have to say this or whatever, but at least have it known. I was bullied back in like the 8th grade, and which I kind of could definitely connect with this guy. It wasn't the same kind of bullying. This guy was making fun of me, and I went to the principal. We had an 8th grade principal and a 7th grade principal, excuse me, and because it was middle school. And the 8th grade principal said, well, okay, we acknowledge that it's happening. You told us what happened. If it happens again, come to us. And it was literally just that. Every time it happened, I went to the guy. He would tell me the same thing. We acknowledge it happens. If it happens again, and it happened, and it happened, and it happened, and it happened. And I could never understand why these people wouldn't just stand up for me. And, I was a white girl, and the guy that was bullying me was a black guy, and it was a predominantly black school, and I don't know if it was because they were taking up for him because he was black, or if he was a guy and I was a girl, or if they didn't have any evidence. I really don't know. They never gave me a specific reason why they didn't step in. They just kept telling me, if it happens again, we'll step in. If it happens again, it was over and over again, and it made me so mad. And then one day the guy was bullying me again for like the millionth time, and me and this guy are friends now. It's over. I think he was just doing it in a playful manner, and he didn't realize that it wasn't playful to me. And I ended up pushing the guy. I didn't hit him. I just pushed him, and because he was all up in my face, and I was like, bro, and he was really tall. And I'm not a tall person. I'm like 5'6", 7", whatever. That's not extremely tall, but it's not short either. But this guy was probably about 6 foot, and I'm just like looking up at this guy. He's all up in my face, and I'm like, I just push him because I'm like, get out of my way. It was almost time for us to go to class anyway, so I'm just like pushing him out of the way, and then I get called down to the office. After that happened, I immediately was going to go to the office, but then we had some kind of testing to do that day, and I said, well, after the test, I'll go. Well, what happened was, it was test day, and then I said, I'm going to go visit him right now, so this guy can't get to the office before me and start fabricating stuff. So then I go to the office, I tell the guy what happened, and he said, don't worry about the whole details, remember them while you're taking the test, and come back to me after the test. So that's what happened. We came back after the test, and then by the time the test was done, this guy had already had 3 or 4 other friends say I slapped the boy, and blah, 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 blah. And, we both got school suspension, or I think he might have got out of school suspension and in school suspension because I had reported him like 4 or 5 times. And thanks, middle school, you rock! Just kidding, you don't rock, you suck. But I didn't even hit the guy. And the principal guy, he's dead now actually, he just passed away last year, and I feel bad now saying this about him. But he sucked ass, okay? I don't curse much on this channel, but he sucked ass. And what happened was, the guy was just like, I believe if this girl had pushed you, there would be more outrage on the playground. Which it wasn't a playground, it was like where it was just this big concrete area where the buses drop the kids off in the morning. And he said, I believe if there was any slapping or hitting or anything like that, there would be more outrage, amongst your peers. And which makes sense. A girl hitting a guy, you're like, whoa, she just hit him, and especially if I had hit him, because I'm gonna slap the crap out of you and you're gonna know it, and people around you are gonna know it because I'm gonna slap you, and so yeah, it was. I don't know if the principal ever realized that these guys were lying on me, or I think my friends ended up coming in and telling them that, hey, this guy didn't get slapped, he didn't get pushed, da 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 da. He didn't get slapped, he got pushed, and that's how I got into school suspension. I went home and cried about that because I was a good student. I didn't do anything to this guy. I didn't make him, I didn't provoke him or anything, and he still bullied me. I went to the principal like 3 or 4 times and never got fixed. And I know I'm ranting about something stupid, but I'm trying to make a point that this guy was being, blackmailed, and I felt like, even though I know where he probably would have, if you had said, well, why didn't you just go to the office? And they don't do anything, and I could say, well, I understand that. But at least you got it out there, and when it happens, it's known. Because, when I went home and told my mom, and I was obviously very upset because I had in-school suspension the next day, and I didn't even know where to go for that because I was a good kid, and I never got in trouble. Literally, my whole public school and private school year. Now, my private school, I did get some spankings. But my public school life, and because of the spankings in public school, I was a nicer kid, a good kid. And my whole public school life, I literally only had that one in-school suspension, which is where you go, basically, which is the stupidest idea, is you go to a room and you sit there and you do homework all day, basically. And when you're done with all your homework, because your teachers bring it and drop it off, when you're done with all that, you do all your work for the day. So you're basically in school, you're just not able to interact with people. And after you do that all day, then once I got done, because I didn't have much to do, because I was pretty much caught up in all my classes anyway, because I'm a good student. And then after that, which every time I had a teacher bring me work in, I would literally start tearing up because of what happened, and all my teachers were looking at me like, what did you do? And I'm like, ah. But whenever they would come in, and after you're done with all your homework, you literally write the agenda. You just copy the agenda just to give you busy work, and it sucked butt because I'm one of those kids. I didn't hate learning, and I didn't absolutely love learning, but I hated that I got in that position because I pushed a guy because I was standing up to him. It just made me mad. But they couldn't. When I told my mom that night, because I have an aunt who works in the district that I go to, I was trying to get a review because I was like, this guy, I've told these people over and over again, that this guy had did this and da da da, and I even worked for the office, the guy, I literally worked for him, the principal guy. I worked for his secretary, and anytime he needed something done, he would give it to her, and because she was a little bit older and had other stuff she had to do, I had a free break, which was study hall, which is basically the same thing as in-school suspension for a whole class period. And instead of taking my free break study hall, I worked for her. And if she needed me to take a note to this person or that person or the other person, I did that. And whenever she didn't have things for me to do, I would literally sit and do my homework. Literally, I was a good student. I never got in trouble. And when I called my mom and told her what happened, I was crying, and I was like, she's like, well, did you tell anybody? I said, Mom, I told them 5 times, and they couldn't ever do anything. I ended up having to do the sentence, and it was bad because, like I said, we only got 2 breaks the whole day to use the bathroom, which I didn't do either. I just sat in there and freaking died inside. And then we had lunch by ourselves. After all the lunches go, your punishment during lunchtime is that you have to go sit and eat lunch, and you get a short period of time to eat, and then you all have to sit apart. So everybody had their own table by themselves, and they had to sit quietly, eat quietly, throw their plates away quietly, and then literally after everybody's done, go back to the room. And you could go outside and talk to your friends. You were on a whole different lunch schedule and you were like, it was just bad. And I think that really kind of shaped me up, and I was like, okay, next time I'm just gonna keep telling them. But you know, it made me mad, and I've ranted about that on Facebook and of course to friends all the time. But at least if something had happened, if he had walked in with a gun or whatever, you can't say the boy didn't tell his peers or his teachers or whatever that it was happening. So I'm sorry I got on that tangent. It's 20 minutes into this video, and I'm so sorry. Some of that will be edited shorter or whatever. I usually talk about who recommends this book. Nobody recommended it. I just saw it on Goodreads, was very interested, put it on my thing, and there we go. The year it was written, I think it was written in 2015. I'm like 90% sure it was written in 2015, so it's not a very old book. So that's awesome, because I don't read very many new books, but here you go. It's a 2015 book. The number of pages, I don't know, at the end there's a good little bit of like acknowledgments. There is 303 pages, which sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot when it comes down to really getting into a book. So after all that talking, I'm sorry for talking so much, but I wanted to just kind of relate to the book in a different way. So, have you read this book? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did you kind of like it? Kind of in between? Tell me how you feel about this book. Also, what were some ideas you would like for the actual movie? If it was ever made into a movie, who would you like to play Simon and Blue and this and that and the other? So guys, thank you. I'd love to hear your comments below, because I love meeting people who feel the same way about this book, and there literally have been no bad reviews about this book that I saw last night when putting up on Goodreads that I had finished it. I didn't see any bad reviews. I'm sure there are bad reviews out there. Every book gets a bad review sometime, and but I didn't see any on the top list, so that means there haven't been any bad reviews lately. So how did you feel about this book? I know I've already said that, but just tell me, because I'd love to know, and I'd love to interact with you guys. And thank you guys so much for watching, and maybe Becky is reading or watching this, and I loved your book, so thanks guys, bye.